Okay, we are going to be reading the fourth reading called The Wildwood. First, we're going to look at some vocabulary. So, to postpone is to put off or reschedule for a later time. Evasively, not entirely truthful or direct in order to avoid something unpleasant. Feeble means weak and having little energy. Heartily means enthusiastically. So heartily, think heartily, like really enthusiastic. Domestic means related to a house or household items. Okay. Mole and Rat on the river talking about the wildwood. What lies over there? Asked the mole, waving a paw toward a background of woodland that darkly framed the water meadows on one side of the river. Well, replied the rat hesitantly, that's the wildwood. We don't go there too often. Are there scary creatures out there? Mole asked, trying not to tremble. The squirrels are all right, Rat replied, and the rabbits, some of them. But rabbits are a mixed lot. And then there's Badger, of course. He lives right in the heart of it. Wouldn't live anywhere else, either. Dear old Badger, nobody interferes with him. Why? Who should interfere with him? Asked the mole. Well, of course there are others, explained the rat, hesitating sort of way. Weasels, stoats, foxes, and so on. They're all right in a way. I'm very good friends with them, past the time of day when we meet, but you can't trust them, that's a fact. Okay. The mole had long wanted to meet the badger, but the water rat always had a reason to postpone or pause the occasion. Badger'll turn up some day or other, the rat would say. Couldn't you ask him to dinner? Said the mole. He wouldn't come, replied the rat simply. Well then, supposing we go on and call him, suggested the rat. The mole. Oh, he wouldn't like that at all, said the rat, quite alarmed. Besides, he lives in the middle of the wildwood. Well, supposing he does like it, said the mole. You told me the wildwood was all right. I know, so it is, replied the rat evasively. But he wouldn't be at home at this time of year anyhow. The mole had to be content with this. Summer had left, taking the warmth and sweet fragrances with it. The autumn and winter days brought cold winds and glistening frost. No one thought about boating, and so with time to ponder, the mole began to think once more of Badger. In the wintertime, the rat slept a great deal. He retired early and rose late. Consequently, the mole had plenty of spare time on his hands. One afternoon, while the rat rested in his armchair before the fire, he decided he would explore the wildwood and perhaps meet Mr. Badger. Mole sets out on his own to visit Mr. Badger in the wildwood. It was a cold, still afternoon when he slipped out of a warm parlor. The country lay bare and leafless around him. The mole liked the country like this, stripped of its finery, and so with a great cheerfulness of spirit he pushed on towards the wildwood. There was nothing to alarm him at first. Then, as his journey progressed, he moved into a shadowy world in which trees crouched nearer, and the holes in various tree trunks gaped like hideous mouths. The dusk descended steadily. Then the faces began. It was over his shoulder that he first thought he saw a face. When he turned and confronted it, the thing had vanished. He quickened his pace. He passed another hole, and a little narrow face flashed up. If he could only get away from the holes, he thought, there would be no more faces. He swung off the path and plunged into the untrodden places of the wood. If Mole plunged into the untrodden places, that means he went deeply into the parts of the wood that were off trail and not walked on. Then the whistling began. Very faint it was when first he heard it, but somehow it made him hurry forward. Then the pattering began. He thought it was only falling leaves at first. Then, as it grew, he knew it was the pat, pat of little feet. The mole began to run. He ran up against things. He fell over things. At last, he took refuge in a hollow of an old beech tree. Terrified, exhausted, the mole lay there trembling. Meanwhile, the rat, warm and comfortable, dozed by his fireside. It was not until a coal in the fire slipped and sent a spurt of flames that he awoke. He immediately looked around for his companion mole, but Mole was not there. He listened for a time. The house seemed very quiet. Then he called Molly several times and received no answer, got up and went out into the hall. The mole's cap was missing from its peg. His Wellington boots were also gone. Wellington boots are waterproof boots that became popular because of a famous British man, the Duke of Wellington, wore them. The rat left the house and found the mole's tracks leading straight to the wildwood. The rat stood in deep thought. Then he re entered the house, strapped a belt around his waist, and shoved a brace of pistols into it. Finally, he picked up a stout cudgel and set off for the wildwood. A brace of pistols means two pistols. A cudgel is a club or stick. Why do you think Rat might take these things with him? I want you to think about that. It was already getting towards dusk when he reached the wood. As he moved among the trees, the rat looked about for his friend. Here and there, wicked little faces popped out of holes, but vanished immediately at the sight of such well armed creatures. The rat called out for his friend an hour or more, when at last he heard an answering cry. Guided by the sound, he made his way to an old beech tree with a hole in it. From out of the hole came a feeble voice saying, "Ratty, is that really you?" The rat crept into the hole, and there he found the mole. "Oh, rat!" he cried. "I've been so frightened." "Oh, I quite understand," said the rat soothingly. "We river bankers hardly ever come out here by ourselves." "Surely the brave Mr. Toad wouldn't mind coming here by himself, would he?" inquired the mole. "Old Toad," said the rat, laughing heartily. "He wouldn't show his face here alone for anything." The mole was greatly cheered by the sounds of Rat's laughter. "Now then," said the rat, "we must really make a start for home." "Dear Ratty," said the poor mole, "you must let me rest a while longer." "Oh, all right," said the rat. "It's nearly pitch dark now, and there ought to be a bit of moon later." So the mole snuggled down and went to sleep while the rat lay patiently waiting with a pistol in his paw. When at last the mole woke up, the rat said, "Now then, I'll just take a look outside and see if everything's quiet, and then we must be off." When at last the mole woke up, Rat said, "Now then, I'll just take a look outside." And then he went to the entrance and put his head out. "What's up, Ratty?" asked the mole. "Snow is up," replied the rat briefly, "or rather down." The mole came and crouched beside him, and looking out saw that a gleaming carpet of fine powder was springing up everywhere. "Well, it can't be helped," said the rat. "We must make a start. The worst of it is, I don't exactly know where we are, and now this snow makes everything look so different." Mole and rat lost on a snowy night in the wildwood. It did indeed. Nevertheless, they set out bravely. An hour or two later, they realized that they were lost. They sat down on a fallen tree trunk to rest. "We can't sit here very long," replied the rat. "The snow will soon be too deep for us to wade through." He peered about him and considered. "Look here," he went on. "There's a dell down there in front of us. Let's make our way down into that and try to find some sort of shelter." So once more they plodded onward as they searched for a corner that was dry. The mole tripped and fell forward on his face. "Oh, my leg!" he cried. "Oh, my poor shin!" "Poor old mole," said the rat kindly. "You don't seem to be having much luck today. Let's have a look at the leg." "I must have tripped over a hidden branch or a stump," said the mole miserably. "It's a very clean cut," said the rat, examining it. "It looks as if it was made by a sharp edge or something made of metal." "Well, never mind what done it," said the mole, forgotten his grammar in pain. "It hurts just the same, whatever done it." Mole is not using good grammar. The correct way to say this is not that. Think about what the correct way to say that would have been. But the rat, after carefully tying up the leg with his handkerchief, was busy scraping in the snow. He scratched and shoveled while the mole waited impatiently. Suddenly the rat cried, "Hooray!" "What have you found, Ratty?" asked the mole. "Come and see," said the delighted rat. The mole hobbled to the spot and had a good look. "Well," he said at last, slowly, "I see right enough. A door scraper." "Well, what of it?" "A door scraper is a small metal frame near a front door. People can scrape the mud off their shoes before entering a house." "But don't you see what it means?" cried the rat. "Of course I see what it means," said the mole. "It means that some very careless person has left his door scraper lying about in the middle of the wildwood." "Oh dear!" cried the rat. "Here, stop arguing and come dig." And he set to work and made the snow fly in all directions. After some further effort, a very shabby doormat lay exposed to view. "There! What did I tell you?" exclaimed the rat. "Absolutely nothing," replied the mole. With perfect truthfulness, you seem to have found another piece of domestic litter. Domestic meaning part of someone's house. Do you mean to say, cried the rat, that this doormat doesn't tell you anything? Really, rat, said the mole. Who ever heard of a doormat telling anyone anything? They simply don't do that. Doormats know their place. Now, look here, you thick headed beast, replied the rat, really angrily. Keep digging if you want to sleep dry and warm tonight. The rat, using his cudgel, attacked a snowbank with great ferocity. The mole scraped busily too. Some 10 minutes later, the rat's cudgel struck something that sounded hollow. He sounded the mole to come and help him. Before long, their efforts were rewarded, for there is the side of a snowbank stood a little door. An iron bell pull hung by the side of it. Below the bell, on a small brass plate, were the moonlit words, Mr. Badger. A bell pull is an old-fashioned doorbell. The mole fell backwards on the snow. Rat, he cried, you're a wonder. You knew that if there was a door scraper, there's bound to be a doormat. If I only had your head, Ratty. But as you haven't, interrupted the rat, I suppose you're going to sit on that snow all night and talk. Get up at once and hang on to that bell pull while I hammer. Do you think Mr. Badger is at home? Okay, I want you to think what season this chapter is in. And when Mole asked the rat to go see him to Mr. Badger, why do you think Rat wants to postpone the visit or tells Mole that he doesn't think Mr. Badger is home? So, do you think that he's going to be in there when we read the next chapter? And why do you think Rat was trying to convince him, like, no, we shouldn't even go, he's not going to be there?